Welcome to part 3 of this 8-part video series for the Micro Focus iPrint Appliance 2.0. My name is Bob Johnson with Micro Focus Technical Support, and in part 3 we will mobile and email enable the printer we created in part 2 of this video series. With mobile and email printing enabled, users can print from any mobile device from anywhere they have an internet connection.
To enable mobile printing and email printing in a web browser, open the Management Console by typing https:// the DNS name or IP address of your appliance, :9443. We always log in as VA admin using the password we configured in part 1 of our video series. Once in the Management Console, click on Manage iPrint Appliance, and here you'll see the printer we created in part 2 of our video series. To mobile enable this printer, click on the blank space to the right of the printer. If you actually click on the printer name, you end up going to the AirPrint advertising screen. Just click back. You'll want to click on this blank space, which enables these options, and we will select Mobile and choose Enable. And now this printer is mobile enabled. Printing to a mobile enabled printer requires authentication to the iPrint appliance from the mobile application. In order for authentication to work, users must have an account in the appliance. This is typically accomplished by importing the users from your directory, usually eDirectory or Active Directory. The LDAP import process, known as user import, will be covered in part 4 of this video series. We will proceed to email enabling printers in the appliance at this point. To enable global email printing, click on Mobile, and then select the option Enable Email-Based Printing. Pay attention to this note that the email account used for email-based printing needs to be one that is exclusive for the iPrint appliance. Be aware that any existing email in the account will be auto-replied to and deleted. For example, if you were to use your personal email as a test, you would end up losing the email messages in your inbox. Go ahead and click OK. For the purposes of this test, I've created a test account called bobsprint20@gmail.com. The username is bobsprint20. The account password will specify. The incoming mail server is imap.gmail.com. Outgoing is smtp.gmail.com. And when you save this, there's actually a process that will go out and test whether or not this configuration is valid. And in this case, the email test has been successful. When configuring this email printing solution, you need to make sure that your mail server is configured as needed to support the incoming server type you select. Also, be aware that the appliance is configured to use the default standard set of SMTP, IMAP, and POP3 ports, which are seen here. Here are the default incoming mail server ports the appliance uses. And here are the outgoing mail server ports the appliance will use. If you have customized your mail server to listen on any ports other than these standard ports, the email configuration will fail. If you have configured the email settings correctly, when you save the configuration, it will return "Changes have been saved successfully," as seen on the screen. So now that email printing has been configured, how do you actually print using email printing? To send a print job to an email-enabled printer, we address the email to the account we just created. We have to use a very specific subject line of printer equals, and then the name of the printer we created, which in this case is Dell 1135 floor 1. Type in test. You can add an attachment if you'd like. For our purposes, we will not, and we will click send. At this point, once the appliance processes the email, the end user will receive an email message back indicating whether or not the print job has printed successfully, or it will indicate a possible problem with the format of the job. In this case, it has been printed successfully and I can hear my printer printing. If you weren't sure of the available email-enabled printers, you could actually send another email message to the appliance and simply in the subject line say list printers and send. And once the appliance has had a chance to process that, you'll get an email reply with a list of all of the available printers, and in this case our Dell 1135 floor 1. You can also send a message to the appliance email address with a subject of help, and it will reply with a list of all of the different options available for email printing, as seen here in this email.
We've just discussed global email printing, and in this configuration, users must remember the precise syntax required in the subject line, including the name of the printer. However, another feature of the iPrint appliance is private email-based printing. With this solution, you create a unique email account for each printer. Typically with this option, the email addresses for the printers will then be accessible via the email software's address book. Many administrators have concluded that the private email option is more appropriate for their end users. To configure private-based email printing, open the Management Console and click on Printers. Click on the blank space to the right and drop down Configure and choose Printer Email Settings.
Select Enable Private Email-Based Printing. In the email address field, you'll specify the email address that you've created for this specific printer. For our test, we'll use Dell 1135 F1 at gmail.com. Username is Dell 1135 F1. Password. The incoming server for Gmail is imap.gmail.com, and the outgoing is smtp.gmail.com, and we'll leave the access method at imap. Click OK. And private email printing has been configured, and you can tell by the change in the icon for the Dell 1135 floor 1 printer.
To test the private email configuration for this printer, click Compose and address the email directly to the printer, which is Dell 1135 F1 at gmail.com. Test. Click Send. Once the appliance has processed the email, we should get notification back from the appliance indicating that the print job was successful. And there is our notification. This concludes part 3 of our 8-part video series, Mobile and Email Enabling Our Printer. In part 4, we will discuss the import user process, which will give our mobile users access to mobile printing through the authentication process. Thank you for watching.